on BBC Radio Devon. Now, we are undoubtedly all feeling the pinch, aren't we? Perhaps even more so lately, actually, after Christmas and paying all that back. And also because the weather has been so cold, hasn't it? So there's been more need for our heating to be on. I know in my home, I'm trying my best to keep the heating on a little bit lower. I'm trying not to put it on at all, actually, until the evenings. And so I stick extra jumpers on and make my daughter do the same, whether she wants to or not. My partner's brilliant because he just does it all himself anyway and is constantly trying to find out more and more ways of keeping all of our bills down. But I also now put blankets over my knees in the evenings, like a very, very elderly person. I think that's what I'm becoming, rather than putting the heating on too much. I haven't got a smart meter, though, but I know that many of my friends have, and they just say that they don't watch telly anymore, not in the evenings. They just watch this instead because they're just trying to compete with it almost, to keep the bills down, like not boiling kettles, trying to turn the heating down, turning lights off. So I guess that's a really good side of it. Well, in the studio with me is James Ellwood from Plymouth Energy Community, and he may well be able to give us a little bit of advice, not tips. But James, let me talk to you first. Tell me about you first and what Plymouth Energy Community is all about.
Hi there. Yes, thanks for having me on. Plymouth Energy Community is a local charity. We've been running for a number of years, and really with a kind of dual aims, I suppose. Firstly, we want to support people with, as you kind of mentioned, we're all feeling the pinch and concerned about energy, particularly at the moment, but how to help kind of heat your homes and sort of get power affordably.
Yeah.
And alongside that kind of involves energy advice, as you mentioned, supporting people who might be struggling with their bills. Yeah. Particularly at the moment, that's obviously a huge part of our service. And the flip side of that, sort of looking towards the climate crisis, tackling that through renewable energy. So we run a solar farm people may be aware of down at Ernest Settle, and a number of other rooftop solar kind of across Plymouth.
Goodness, lots going on there. Yeah. How many people, sort of roughly, I suppose, are coming to you for help? Because I'm guessing, because like I said, as you said as well, we are all feeling it now, particularly in terms of energy bills. Sure,
certainly. I mean, our energy advice team are kind of now working flat out really this winter, and the noticeable change has been, in the past there would be at least a bit of respite in the summer as people could kind of, lower their energy bills just because of that. But that hasn't really happened in the last 12 months. So we're really concerned that, thousands of people this is affecting locally.
Tell me a little bit about your Future Fit programme, because I was reading about this morning and it sounds really interesting.
Sure, yeah. So Future Fit's a big campaign that we're running at the moment, and this is about retrofitting. So this is about looking at houses and how we can improve the energy efficiency from the outset. So obviously we want to avoid people reaching the point where they're in crisis, and one of the ways we can do that is by improving the quality of housing and just ensuring that people's homes aren't leaking that heat that, of course, we're paying through the nose for at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, gosh, there's lots of different ways that can be done. Take us through some of this, because I know my house, it's rickety, it's old. I've got massive gaps of like 2-inch gaps under the doors, which is terrible, isn't it? The insulation I don't think is great in the loft either. So there's lots of things that we can all do to improve this.
For sure. There's a whole range of measures that we can put in place. So that can be like, as you kind of alluded to, improving cavity wall insulation. Obviously depends on the exact property as to what's appropriate. And similarly, loft insulation and other measures like solar panels that can help reduce our bills by providing some electricity directly to the property. The notable thing with all of these things and why Future Fit, our scheme, exists really is because we're very aware that these are quite high upfront costs to get installed. And that can be a barrier for people, particularly kind of on lower incomes, to actually get these kind of things put in place.
But I think you might have alluded to this already, really, that Plymouth specifically, because that's the area that you're operating in, there are things that people can do or you can help them with that are completely free.
For sure, yeah. There's a whole range of smaller measures, the simple things, smart meters, and kind of, I think probably most people, particularly over this winter, have been aware of some of the things that we offer. Things like electric heated blankets, which are much lower to run than heating the whole house. So we kind of talk about heating the person rather than the room. So those kind of steps, and there's a whole range of advice leaflets that you can access on our website with lots of tips on there.
That's a brilliant idea about the electric blanket. I hadn't even thought about that. But that, of course it is. It's much more economic, I suppose, than trying to put the heating on for the whole house if it's just you in one room.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. James, tell me a little bit more about, because I know that you work with people specifically in the Plymouth area. So tell me a little bit more about this tool that you've got.
Sure, yeah. The Future Fit scheme that we mentioned earlier, which offers a number of different opportunities to get features added to your house that will improve its energy efficiency, keep you nice and warm. That tool is on our website, so it's an eligibility tool to see whether you're going to be able to access that funding. We're in the last couple of weeks of the campaign, so we're really keen to make sure that money gets spent on properties in Plymouth. And so, I'd really advise people to get onto that tool. There's a couple of key eligible criteria that you need to meet, which is a household income of less than £30,000 a year, and combined with your property having an energy efficiency rating, so an EPC certificate, which is a score of E or less.
Okay. So what does that mean then? E is bad, is it?
It is, yeah. So it's very similar. You probably most familiar, people will see this on the fridge or something like that. Yeah. If you buy that, and you'll see the A to G kind of rating system, and obviously A being the top energy efficiency. It's similar with houses. So when you make a purchase of your house, you should get that certificate. However, we can, if you get in touch with us, we can help you find that information as well.
That sounds fantastic. So there is help out there. People do need to know that. We are particularly talking about the Plymouth area, but there are places across the county that can help as well, aren't there?
That's correct, yes. Yeah. So for people outside of Plymouth, they can look at the Energy Saving Devon Partnership website, which has got a whole host of similar sorts of advice, but Devon-wide, so that's energysavingdevon.org.uk.
Really helpful. And you're working in conjunction with Plymouth City Council as well?
Yeah, this particular piece of funding in particular is a partnership. It's government funding that we're kind of helping to distribute. We've got the contacts locally and hugely supportive council on this.
It must be very, very nice, the nice side of this, doing the work that you do, seeing after that you've helped people with their insulation or helping them just make their houses more energy efficient and the difference it makes to their lives.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of what we live for as a charity. We really want to make that difference for people, and we know that the wider point of tackling the climate crisis as well. It's something that people are nervous of, and being able to take these steps, and house by house, we can improve things.
Tell us a little bit more about your green credentials, because you clearly are. I mean, you're generating your own power to sell to the grid to put money into the charity. So tell us more about that.
That's correct. Yeah. So through the renewables part of our charity, so PEC Renewables, we have the Ernest Settle Solar Array, which is kind of the solar farm up there. Also a number of rooftop installations, so solar panels on roofs of schools as well, which helps reduce the school's energy bills too.
Have you worked with schools? I was going to ask about this.
Yes. In fact, last week I was in running workshops with a number of different schools, looking at that with pupils. So really topic that kids are really interested in engaging with at the moment.
Yeah, it's multifaceted, isn't it, really? Because the children themselves, schools have still got to keep those children warm. You can't have a cold classroom. You can't expect children to be in those conditions. Well, you wouldn't be able to, would you? But in the same breath that I say that, the schools are in exactly the same position as the rest of us. It's how they afford these increased energy bills.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a huge concern for lots of schools, and what we can have been able to do with putting panels on some of the schools in Plymouth really helps them. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not something we can always offer, but we look as a charity to see where we can support people with that.
So what's next for the charity, James?
What's next? Yeah. Well, the next big scheme will be the Cheltenham Meadow solar farm that we want to build. So we'll be in the early stages of planning, getting planning permission for that at the moment. But we're hoping to get that built, which would be another big solar farm in the city.
Fantastic. And just remind us again of your website where people can find you.
Sure, yeah. So if you're interested, if you think you might be eligible for the Future Fit scheme, so get onto the Plymouth Energy Community website.com. You can find the little orange button, Future Fit, click through there to look at the eligibility tool. If you can fill that in, and I think even if you're not sure whether you're going to be eligible this time, we're hoping there'll be future funding. So if you put your details onto there, it means that we'll have the opportunity to contact you in the future if something comes online that is appropriate for your property and might mean that you can access some grant funding.
Fantastic. Do you know what the really good thing is about talking to people like you? Is that there's hope. There's hope for us all. That things feel a little bit bleak and, the bills do feel a little bit out of control, that there are people like you, like your charity across Devon, that might just be able to help.
For sure.
Thank you. James, brilliant to speak to you. Thank you.